never leave me. But now you've left me. Oh, how I cry. You don't miss your water till your well runs dry. You don't miss your water till your well runs dry.
You give me love I've never had. You make me feel good when I'm feeling bad. Come on and comfort me. Oh, baby, you know the way I showed you how to love me right. So comfort me tonight. Oh, I'll make your way easy. So take your time. You know I demand it. Love me till I can't stand it. Come on and comfort me. You know the way I showed you how to love me right. So comfort me tonight. Just one touch, that'll be enough. You should know I'm so easy to love. So come on and comfort me. You know the way I showed you how to love me right. So comfort me tonight.
Oh, she may be weary, and young girls, they do get wearied wearing that same old shaggy dress. Yeah, yeah. But when she gets weary, try a little tenderness. Yeah, yeah. Oh, man, you know she's waiting, just anticipating for things that she'll never, 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 never possess. Yeah, yeah. But while she's there waiting, and without them, try a little tenderness. That's all you gotta do.
Good morning, NAMP conference attendees. We're going to get started in just a second, so please take a moment to silence your cell phones. And now, please join me in welcoming Artistic Approach.
Check, check, 1, 2. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good, good, good. Have you been enjoying the conference? Okay, good, good, good. I heard great things. So we're our Artistic Approach, and we're here based in Memphis, and we're going to do a couple of songs for you all. So hopefully you enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do, dum ba do, a da dum do. Do do dum ba do, a dum ba do, a da dum do dum da do, a dum ba do, a da dum do dum da do, a dum ba do, a da do, a do. Music don't know what you do to me. Got me they dreaming consistently. I'm fantasizing about seeing horizons when we wake up together, just you and me. And I'm so caught up in your melody. You soothe my soul, put me to sleep. Music every time you're around and around and around. Yeah, yeah, you make me as they do. A doom ba do, a da dum do doom da dum da do. A doom ba do, a da dum do 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 da do. A doom ba do, a da dum do do da do. A doom ba do, da do, a do, a do. You become such a part of me. Life without you just wouldn't be as sweet. In fact, I'd go crazy. So don't you ever leave, for you become more than therapy because of you. I've sanity, no, it's a mystery of what you do to me, but I love the way you make me feel, because it feels like
say, sweet sunshine, calm my mind, got me stuck on your vibe like a 9 to 5. Oh, sugar, sugar, what you do to me when you sing a little bitty melody? Can you hold my heart and make it do what it do? Cause I really like it when you do what it do. You got me high when I'm with you. I can't help but sing and shout how you make me say, don't get down, something up that don't, oh yeah. Make me say, make me say, don't get on, 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 sing it on, do.
From the top, I say, music don't know what you do to me. Got me dreaming consistently. I'm fantasizing about seeing horizons when we wake up together, just you and me. And I'm so caught up in your melody. You soothe my soul, put me to sleep. Music every time you're around and around and around. Yeah, yeah, you make me as they do. A doom ba do, da dum do da dum da do. A doom ba do, da dum do da dum da do.
Make me sing. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's an original song by us called Music, and you can find that at Artistic Approach. That's our name. .com, and yeah, listen to that and more and more. This next one is also an original one, and is titled "Come On." Do 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 It's a struggle every day, trying to be a better somebody. Yeah, come on. No one's perfect, this we know, but ain't that how the story go? Yeah, come on. Yeah. You got problems no one sees, but that's alright, cause so do we. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Well, that's alright, yeah, that's okay, cause you gon' make it at least today. Yeah, come on. Yeah. It's a struggle every day, trying to be a better somebody. Yeah, come on. Let me tell you, no one's perfect, this we know, but ain't that how the story go? Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. You got problems no one sees, but that's alright, 'cause so do we. Hey, come on. Yeah. Well, that's alright, yeah, that's okay. 'Cause you gon' make it at least today. Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. Whoa, whoa. Yeah. Whoa, oh, I say, come on.
Check it. The feeling ain't no grind that's too hard to tell, and it ain't no spell that's too hard to kill. I've been rocking since 88, 76. Yeah, I go tell your mama and your family that we care and we swim. Anybody up and through right here, gonna take your shine, I shine, we clear. Grinding 9 to 9, out of 9 for them lives. The battle ain't over, so you know we broke it down and you're strong. I heard it when you're singing them songs, seen it in their eyes when they done them wrongs. Come on, we're gonna break it down tonight. Gonna sing it, tell the struggle, gonna be alright. Oh, oh lordy, oh, oh lordy, oh, oh lordy, oh, oh lordy. Ain't no grind, too hard to tell. Ain't no spell, too hard to catch. Come on, 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 come on.
It's a struggle every day. I say oh, it's a struggle every day. I say it's a struggle every day. I say come on.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one more. Do we have time? We have time for one, just one more. We gotta do one more. Okay, one more. We got time. Okay, no. It's time. That's it. All right. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Artistic Approach. And now please welcome back to the stage Elizabeth Rouse, President and CEO of Arts Memphis and local host of the 2017 National Arts Marketing Project Conference.
Thank you. We are thrilled to have been able to close out this morning with two more artists, Esso and Siffin, who are just two more examples of all the amazing talent we have in the city that we are quite proud of. So Esso is from St. Louis and Siffin, New Orleans, and they ended up here at the Memphis College of Art and have chosen to make Memphis their home and are not used to performing on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. So we appreciate them being here. I hope you have enjoyed and learned from your weekend here in our great city. Through dance and opera, museums, and historic spaces, I hope you've also had a chance to have some good barbecue and had the opportunity to experience the real Memphis soul that exists across our city. Most importantly, we hope you will go home and tell your friends and coworkers how much you've loved Memphis and about the transformation that is happening here as we continue to transform tragedy into triumph during this 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. It is indeed an important and historic year in our city. I'd like to take one last opportunity to thank a few people. First, the 30 local Memphians, artists, arts administrators, and supporters who have been part of our host committee, our opening reception committee, and our marketing committee and have made all of this possible. I'd also like to thank the Arts Memphis staff, especially Tracy Lawrenson-Wright, Sarah Blackburn, and Colleen McCartney for their hard work and adding this to their already full plates over the last year. Thank you all very much. And lastly, the Americans for the Arts team. It has been fantastic to work with all 21 of you who are here this weekend and others who are not here. We're so fortunate to have this national organization that does so much on the local level to help us as a country maximize and galvanize the impact of the arts. And now it is time to turn to next year, and I'm thrilled to share with you that the location for the 2018 National Arts Marketing Project Conference will be Seattle, Washington. It is very much a fitting location. While our cities are very different, they are very much the same, especially in the work that is rooted in equity and the deep support for arts and culture in both of our cities. And so it is my pleasure to pass the torch to the Director of Cultural Tourism with Visit Seattle, Tracy Wickersham. Join me in welcoming Tracy to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here, and I'm welcoming to the stage my two colleagues who are from your local host committee leaders in Seattle from the Office of Arts and Culture at the city. This is Otz and Jenny, and we are all really delighted about the partnership that we will have for you in Seattle and to have the chance to welcome you to our city. I come from the arts background. When I moved into the role of cultural tourism at Visit Seattle, I have loved to be able to maintain this connection with our arts and heritage community, and I'm just delighted that the National Arts Marketing Project Conference is going to come to Seattle. It's been so fun to meet so many of you while I've been sitting out in the hall out there. We've had so many good conversations, and I know a lot of you have said that you've been to Seattle. Some of you have never been, and some of you it's been many years, and the explosion of creativity and art and culture and the deep work that's being done in our community is really something that we're so proud of and we're excited to show you. People think a lot about the nexus between innovation and technology and creativity, and that's really strong in our region, and so we're just cooking up all sorts of ideas to share with you. So Memphis and, of course, Americans for the Arts have set a very high bar for us with this great conference, but challenge accepted, and we are looking forward to showing you the best of our community. We're going to show you a short video about Seattle, and I want to encourage you for further inspiration. Visit Seattle has been doing a lot of video content, and it's all available on our visitseattle.tv channel, and a few series in particular that are all about arts and culture. Our Culture Trippers, Been There, Made That, which is one of my personal favorites, where we bring makers from around the country to Seattle, and they get inspired by what they see and go back and create something inspired by that trip. Plus Play, which highlights some of our museums through the eyes of pint-sized docents, and Project 5x5, which are short films made by filmmakers that premiered at Sundance this year. And you will find all of that on Visit Seattle TV. And then the last one that's just now premiering is our new series called Turning Tables, where we pair a musician with a chef, and they inspire each other's work and create something together. So that one will also whet your taste buds a little bit. We're not known for our barbecue, but we have some really good salmon and fresh produce and really great food to serve you. So we're all here. We would love to talk to you and encourage you, but thank you so much for choosing Seattle Americans for the Arts. We're so excited to welcome you, and thanks for hosting us here in Memphis. It's been really a delight, so thank you.
I wanna be the man who gets you all the presents underneath the Christmas tree. Well, they're all from me. And I wanna be the boy who run and tell his baby every time he skins his knee or breaks his toy. I wanna be your boy, be your boy, be your boy. I wanna be your boy, be your boy, be your boy. I wanna be the man who understands his woman, and you know she do right by me. Oh, you understand? And I wanna be the boy who gets you all the pretty little things in your magazines. Oh, it's such a joy. I wanna be your boy, be your boy, be your boy. I wanna be your boy, be your boy, be your boy.
How cool was that? Good morning, everyone. I'm Clay. I'm back. Thank you to Elizabeth and to Tracy and Jenny and Otts. We are so excited to be heading to Seattle next year for the NAMP conference, and we hope that you'll all join us and tell all of your arts marketing friends both about the wonderful experiences you've had here and what is in store for you across the country as we hit the West Coast. Before I introduce our closing keynote, who is amazing and very well traveled, he averages 2 a week or something is what you said, and he's heading off to Bucharest after us, so good for him. But before I introduce him, I'm very excited to be the guy who gets to do the raffle. So first we have a set of Beats headphones, and then we've also got 2 special prizes from our friends in Seattle. One is 2 tickets on any small group tour with the Evergreen Escapes. And the other is a $50 gift card to Ever Seafood, as well as 2 tickets to the Seattle Aquarium. So those are things you can take advantage of next year when you come to NAMP. See how we did that? How clever. So we're going to start with the Beats headphones. And, oh, good, Nicole has arrived. So the winner of the Beats headphones, you do have to be here. So I have, like, the actual top 3 and then alternates. Randall Hartzog, are you here? Woo! All right, come on up if you can. That'd be great. All right, and while Randall's making his way to the stage, for the 2 tickets on any small group tour with Evergreen Escapes, Emma Perrin. Emma? Emma! I love the gasp of surprise. It makes me happy. And then finally, for our third prize, which is a $50 gift card to Ever Seafood, as well as 2 tickets to the Seattle Aquarium, Marie-Hélène Dagenas. Did I say that at all correctly? Marie-Hélène? Okay, Marie-Hélène. I'm sorry. William Soderberg. Are you here? Maybe? Yes! All right. Thank you to all of you who took the time to visit our exhibitors and learn about some of the amazing stuff that is being offered to help you do your jobs. I hope that you had a great opportunity to talk with a lot of them, as well as to get some of that awesome swag that they were handing out. I was very impressed with the swag this year, and I'm bringing home those sunglasses to my daughter. She's going to be very excited. So, now, I am pleased to welcome our closing keynote. Sam Mallikarjunan is a professor at Harvard University, a HubSpot fellow, and the author of How to Sell Better Than Amazon. He is a growth marketing expert who works to build organizations and teams into engines of growth with the right muscles to test, experiment, and challenge assumptions. And it is just those skills that we all need today as we attempt to innovate in this moment. In this
Super excited to be here. And so because I didn't give each of you clickers, we're going to do that here today. So I'm going to name 3 things. And when I'm done with these 3 things, I want you to give a round of applause if you love any of these 3 things, okay? This is the least excited you could be right now. I need to set a ceiling, and then we're going to use that as our metric as we move along. So this is my puppy, Simon. He's upstairs right now. Some of you met him in the elevator earlier today. This is a panda that has no relation to me, but it's also adorable. And at most conferences, I would use profits here, but I'm going to use painting for you all, because a lot of you are not as focused on profits. So if you like any of those things, my adorable puppy Simon, pandas, or painting, give me a big round of applause. Okay. All right. So now I have something to work with here. So the title of this talk was The Evolution of Revolution. And if anybody is familiar with, you may have heard of a play called Les Miserables book. Some people in here might be familiar with it. Give me a round of applause. Any Les Miserables fans in here? Yeah? Okay, sweet. I love this play. I love it because it talks about inequality and injustice, and it talks about obsession, and it talks about love, and it talks about revolution. And it's actually one of the few sort of books and plays where revolution is actually the subplot. Right? Like, revolution's not the real point. And it's got all these great songs, and it's got these great characters. Does anybody have a favorite song from this play? Just shout it out. One Day More? Okay, what else? Bring Him Home? Anything else? On My Own? Okay. I like the revolution bit one. I like the Do You Hear the People Sing? This is the only conference in the country I can get away with this at. Does everybody know the words to this? All right, we're going to do a sing-along. This is going to be great. All right, so I don't know why I put the words up, but you may actually know it. So we're gonna do a sing-along. So 1, 2, 3. You hear the people singing the songs of angry men. It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums. There is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. I am not a singer, but give you all yourselves a round of applause. That was awesome. They did not tell me that I was going to be following like these fantastic singers in the morning. I figured I'd be following somebody who, didn't make me look quite so bad. But I love it. I love the energy. I love the passion in this movie, in this play, in this book. And I love the thoughts that they have about revolution, because revolutions are fundamentally started when there's a collapse in trust, right? You don't trust your government, or maybe you don't trust your organizations that you're with. It's a lack of trust. And marketing has this problem right now. Every year, we do a survey, yes, a simple question, who do you trust? At the top, as you'd expect, are sort of teachers and firefighters. A little bit further down are journalists and professional sports athletes and baristas. Further down are politicians and lobbyists. And then behind those people are sales and marketing professionals. Sales got rounded up to 1%, marketing got rounded down. Now, we did this survey in 2016. And there's 3 things you never talk about at a conference, right? Politics, religion, and PC versus Mac. Nobody can have a rational conversation about it. But just think about politics in 2016. We lost to those people. That's embarrassing. That's not okay. But we kind of deserve it, right? We've spent the last 50, 100 years abusing people's attention. Right? We buy a list and we spam it 3 times a week and we call that email marketing. Or we pick up the phone and we cold call people. Anybody ever got a telemarketing call? Yeah? Anybody got a telemarketing call they liked? Okay, not many. And it doesn't work. We have the dubious distinction of being one of the only industries in history to have a whole other industry appear to stop us from doing our jobs. Ad blockers, TiVo, everything else like that. Other people make money with the sole purpose of preventing us from doing our jobs. That's really embarrassing. 200 million people on the do not call list, 44% of direct mail is never opened, 91% of people unsubscribe to emails. It's really embarrassing. And before I get too high on my horse here, my soapbox, I do have a confession to make. And I only make this confession because there are lots of exits, so there's no way for you all to tackle me at once. Has anybody ever been to a mall and had somebody shout at them from a kiosk trying to sell them a cell phone? I used to train those people. That was the best idea we had, right? I shout at 200 people a day, and maybe 20 of them I can get to stop, and maybe 5 of them are actually going to buy a phone, and that was my quota. This was the best idea that we had at the time. Fun fact, I can do that sales pitch in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I can do it in Spanish. I can do it in Spanish because I don't actually care what you're going to say back to me. It doesn't matter what I'm saying. I'm going to continue saying what I'm going to say, and you're either going to buy from me or you're going to walk away. So it's not terribly important that I know what I'm saying. This is horrible. This is what has led to this breakdown in trust, and this is what is leading to this revolution in sales, and this revolution in marketing, and this revolution in growth. Now, I want to introduce you to the person who I trust more than anyone else in the world. That would be my barber. This doesn't just happen. You think this is an accident? No. So this is Larry, and Larry's like a classic Boston townie guy. So I lived in Boston for 5 years because that's where HubSpot is based. And Larry, he would sit me down. I went to him for years. He'd sit me down. He'd talk to me about my family. He'd talk to me about my work. He'd talk to me about all kinds of stuff. He talks way too much about Tom Brady, these sorts of things. And at one point, I sit down, and Larry looks at me, and I can tell he's struggling to say something. He says, "You gotta let it go, kiddo. You gotta let it go. You're bald." And I said, "Larry, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not bald. I still have hair." And he says, "No, you're right. Bald would look good. What you have doesn't look so good." And I'm like, "No, I don't know if I could be a bald guy. I'm kind of young. I don't know if I could." It's also cold in Boston. It's very not the right place to have no warmth on your head. But Larry had spent so much time understanding me. He understood my job. He understood my family. He understood my life. I understood him a little bit too. And I trusted him so that when he said, listen, kiddo, I'll always be kiddo. I'd be 85 years old. I'm a kiddo to this guy. He said, "Listen, kiddo, you got to let it go." And so I did. So I shaved my head. And the goal of tech, of all this stuff that we're trying to do with technology, is to scale Larry. Right? So Larry's got 40 or 50 regulars, okay? He can keep in touch with all of us and understand all of us. Our goal is not helping you spam better when you build marketing software or when you buy a list or whatever. It's not helping you irritate more people. It's how do you have that one-to-one relationship? How do you build that trust that Larry built with me? The most interesting man in the world has the most interesting quote on this. To be interesting, you must first be interested. ask questions about people, understand where they're coming from. One of my favorite business models in the world is Netflix. I've rated over 800 movies for Netflix. Any of us would kill to have our customers fill out an 800-question survey, right? The reason I do it, though, is because I know they're going to use that information to make my experience with Netflix better. Netflix doesn't say, like, Sam, you should watch sci-fi. Like, okay, anybody who's friends with me on Facebook for 2 minutes knows that I like sci-fi. Like, you should watch, like, gritty, war-based sci-fi set on an alien planet at night with a strong female lead. That's a real movie. It's called Alien, right? It's a great movie. It's very precise, but it's because they're interested. And so if you were trying to maybe launch a startup to compete with Netflix and you wanted to take me from Netflix, you'd have to, like, beam a custom movie into my brain for $1 or something. Otherwise, I'm never leaving Netflix. I love that model. So we decided to create our own revolution at HubSpot that we called inbound marketing. That's sort of the story that I'm going to tell you about today. Inbound marketing is the antithesis of what we also invented, which was outbound marketing, which at the time was just called marketing, because that was sort of the best idea that we had. But it was this idea that instead of interrupting people, it was actually not only better for your spirit, but more economically efficient to attract people to your site, to attract people to your company, to learn about them, to close them in a trust-based relationship and maintain that relationship over time. That's a better economics model than it is to interrupt them. It's a better way to work. And I'll spoil the surprise for you a little bit here. I didn't know this until I started researching for this conference, but we appear to have won. So inbound marketing versus cold calling, which is the thing that we hate most in the world, back in November of 2015, there may not be more people doing inbound marketing than cold calling, but there's more people looking into it. We've won that revolution. And the way that we were able to do that was by focusing on you people, by focusing on the marketers who actually have to do the work. You hear this a lot. You hear, like, this is going to revolutionize the industry, right? Most of us here are not involved in active revolutions. If you are, don't tell me, or at least tell me some other time, right? We tend to use that term a lot more when it comes to, like, technology and industries and business and stuff like that. One of the greatest revolutions recently has been the smartphone. So, round of applause. Does anybody have a smartphone? Okay. This is really nice, by the way. This is the first conference I've been to where more people applauded for smartphone, or less people applauded for smartphone than puppies and pandas. It's like, I have a lot of faith in you people. You're the right audience to talk to. Okay, so now I'm not going to ask you to applaud for this, but smartphones are like the worst thing to ever happen to public speakers, right? So you can raise your hand if you want. Has anybody ever been on their phone when somebody was speaking on stage? Yeah, okay. You don't have to lie. It's not we've all done it. But as a speaker, my job is to adapt to that, right? It's not to get mad at you for being on your phone. It's to accept that the world has changed, and I need to respond to it differently. I need to live in this world differently. For the rest of the hour, I have to compete with literally everything anyone has ever said anywhere at any time. No pressure, right? Fortunately, there is karmic justice in the universe because once you leave here, so do you. When you're creating your content, when you're creating your marketing content or the content that you're planning for your arts programs, you have to compete with everything everyone else has said. And it's not fair. And it's very difficult, but it's very doable. And it also is a better way to lead a business. So sometimes I get disappointed. You know, I kind of missed like the 60s and 70s when the first computer revolution was coming around. We actually live right now in the most interesting period in the entire history of commerce. I know it doesn't feel like it. It feels terrifying, right? It feels, does anybody feel like it's hard to keep up with all the changes? Yeah, with everything that's going on? Yeah, it's hard to keep up with that. You may know that may you live in interesting times is both a blessing and a curse, right? So there was another group that lived in interesting times called the dinosaurs. And now we tend to make fun of dinosaurs, right? Like, oh, that company's a dinosaur. I promise you that if any of us actually went one-on-one with a dinosaur in its own time, in its own environment, we would not survive, right? But we were able to adapt. We were able to survive the extinction events and become the species that we are today. Now, we are in currently a mass extinction of businesses for many of the same reasons. The environment has changed, and businesses are having a hard time adapting and surviving. So the Fortune 500, you've probably heard of this list. The lifespan on the Fortune 500 used to be 75 years. Defined who you were, right? You were a Fortune 500 company, you were a Fortune 500 CEO. That lifespan has since declined to just about 15 years. Research suggests that lifespan may decline to about 5 years in the near future. 5 years. And a company that was a pillar of the global economy may be off the list or perhaps gone entirely. That's really terrifying. But it's also really exciting. Richard Foster, a professor at Yale, estimates that by 2020, three-fourths of the companies on the Fortune 500 will be companies we've never heard of yet. That's really exciting if we haven't heard of you. It's terrifying if we have heard of you, right? Round of applause if you've heard of HubSpot. Okay. That's great. So there's no wrong answer there, right? If everybody applauds, I go ask for a raise. If nobody applauds, that's called job security. But it's a very exciting time to be alive. It's a very exciting time to be in business. And it creates these opportunities, right? Mass extinction. Again, dinosaurs, if we had to actually fight dinosaurs, we would not be having a very pleasant conference right now, right? I've seen Jurassic Park. We've all seen Jurassic Park. The velociraptors like hide in the kitchen and drink all the coffee, and they're always in the elevator, right? It's a giant mess. But all these cute pandas and koalas, all this opportunity is created when we have these extinction events, which we're currently having in the world of business. This has also impacted how we define who we are. So the thing that makes you who you are, the knowledge stock that you have, that makes you the business that you are, we used to name our companies after that, right? You were General Electric, you were Standard Oil, and things like that. We used to name our families after that. You were Smith, you were Wainwright, you built wagons, right? We used to name our families after that. The decay of that knowledge stock has gone from about 20 years plus, to less than 5 years as well. Whatever it is that you know right now, or that I know, we can expect to monetize for no more than another about 5 years. This is research from Deloitte. It's interesting to me that knowledge stock research and the Fortune 500 research lines up, because it's about adapting to this new reality of being able to learn new things, change who we are, accept this mindset of continuous disruption and continuous learning. I would love to tell you that the problem is that there's one secret that, because we're friends, I'm going to tell you, that if you just learn this one secret, you'll be fine. I would also love to tell you that the problem is money. The problem is not money. Lots of people think maybe it's the Great Recession, it's a leftover from that. There is more money sitting on American balance sheets right now than at any point in history. $1.6 trillion is sitting on American business balance sheets not being used. It's not a question of having access to money. It's a question of how we design our organizations and how we design our businesses and how we design our careers. Large businesses are particularly susceptible to this. Large, old organizations that we might call dinosaurs, that are terrifying in their own right, are sort of susceptible to change, or are not very adaptive to change. This quote has haunted me for years. When what you're doing isn't working, you tend to do more of the same with greater intensity. So all of the talk recently has been about sort of the retail apocalypse, hashtag retail apocalypse 2017, right? All of these stores are seeing all these challenges in retail, and how do they respond? With automated checkout kiosks. This is our great innovation. This is what we've decided to do in order to survive this. Whereas companies are, and all of these stores are closing. And then you've got companies like Apple. Has anybody ever been to an Apple store? Round of applause? Yeah? Okay. I'm not going to ask Apple versus Mac, or Apple versus Android, but their stores are undeniably beautiful. And if you go to their stores, they're not trying to sell you constantly. They're not trying to close you on buying the latest iPhone. They're trying to educate you, and they're trying to help you. They're trying to create an environment that's conducive to learning. It's not just about, can we make this process more efficient? It's about, can we be more helpful? Can we close you better that way? So you may have seen the technology adoption life cycle, right? It looks like a bell curve. It's called Rogers Market Segments. On the far left, you've got innovators and early adopters. If any of you launches a mobile app, I'll download it. That does that's not that interesting, right? That I'm willing to do it. I will download any app just to see if it breaks my phone. Because knowing how you broke my phone is useful information to me. On the far right, you've got the laggards, the people who there's still 20 million people paying AOL for dial-up internet, right? My mother's one of them, which, it's fine. She doesn't use the internet for anything. So. But do you really want to be like in that position right now, where you're relying on people who just haven't gotten around to canceling their subscription? No, of course not. Now, this bell curve is nice and smooth, and it shows that this big process sort of goes nice and smooth, and you can invent this new technology, and then it'll develop over time. The problem is the pace of change has accelerated so fast that you can't rely on this bell curve. I want you to, in your mind, if you've ever studied business or economics or anything in school, chop up the bell curve in half. We no longer live in a world of bell curves. We now live in a world of S-curves. Once you start reaching that market saturation, once you're satisfied, things are going pretty well, you feel like you deserve a trophy, you probably do, this is when you should start getting concerned. This is when you should start focusing on what's next and what's the next innovation that we can bring to the table. How can we deliver more values to other markets? This is split up into 4 phases, these S curves. The first phase is called finding product market fit. Product market fit is a startup term for will people use what you have. The second phase is can you get the math to work? Marketing is no longer the team sitting in the corner playing with crayons. We are a very real part of driving the organization's growth. The third phase is can you get the math to scale, right? If you want to ask for more budget, can you actually grow your membership? Can you grow your attendance? Can you grow your sales? Can you grow your revenue? Whatever. And then the fourth phase, you're starting to get disrupted. You're starting to get that saturation. And how can you survive there? So we're going to walk you through these 4 phases and how startups approach it. And then you can use some of those lessons to understand how you can approach it in your own businesses. So the first phase is finding product market fit. I don't know if I need to add a spoiler alert to Les Miserables. First of all, it's somewhat old, and again, this is the right audience for that. But the revolution doesn't go terribly well for those people. And the reason the revolution doesn't go well is they're all inspired, and they've got all these people who are active, and they've got the barricade, and they're doing all this cool stuff, but they don't have very good retention. People don't stick around, and people don't join in their revolution, and they don't stay around in their revolution. Their idea was, listen, we're going to start off this revolution, and everybody's going to think it's such a great idea that everybody's going to join in, and everybody's going to give everything they have to help us win this revolution. We've all had that cousin at Thanksgiving dinner or something like that, right? Who's got like the one big idea, and it's like all they need is like $10,000 or something like that, and they're going to like really nail this one big idea. We all have those sorts of folks. They didn't focus first on were they actually creating value? Was their product what we call product market fit? So in marketing, we're used to thinking in things in terms of funnels, right? Our job starts at the top of the funnel, right? And then it moves down from awareness to maybe some leads who are coming into our business or coming into our store, and then it comes and turns into customers. We need to think about it the opposite way. Start with the customer and work your way back. Validate what's the value that I'm actually giving to people, and then you can figure out your economics model. If you know that you've got customers who are maybe worth $1,200 in total customer lifetime value, and you know that you've got a funnel that looks like this, you can figure out very specifically how you can drive growth. In this model, I can spend $2 to drive somebody to my website. Cool. There's a lot of things that I can do for $2 per visit. Social media, blogging, things like that. Or I can get better at this funnel and improve the model. But you don't start with traffic and then see where you go from there. You don't start with the message and see where you go from there. You start with the product market fit. So the first thing that I want you to do is decide where you want to be on this chart. The y-axis is good for the world. The x-axis is good for you. Obviously, the worst thing you can do is both bad for the world and bad for you. Don't do that. Bad idea. The best thing that you can do, maybe, is good for you and good for the world. Most people in here fall into this quadrant, right? You could, let's be blunt, you could all be probably making more money at some other companies, like selling iPad covers or something like that, right? Like you are passionate about our arts heritage, and you're passionate about serving your communities, and so you live in this quadrant. Now, that is not to say that I'm going to judge anybody if you want to be in one of the other quadrants, right? If it's good for the world and bad for you, that's fine. If it's bad for the world and good for you, we get into sort of a gray area, but I'm not here to judge. But figure out where you want to stay here and then focus on this. This has been a struggle at my company because there are things that we could do that would be good for us, right? We're pretty good engineers. We could sell better ways to spam. We could create really efficient cold calling technology. And we've really resisted that urge, though, because we decided early on where we wanted to be in this particular quadrant. After that, step 0 before you do anything else is define what we call the user assumption. So in software engineering, this follows a pattern called a user story. As an X, I want to Y so that I can Z. And the so that I can Z point is actually very important. Understanding what it is somebody's actually trying to accomplish. We also call this the jobs to be done framework. What is it the job that the customer is actually hiring you to do? Why is it somebody's coming to your museum? Why is it that somebody's going to apply? Why are they reading your blog? You can start with that. Why are they following you on social media? Henry Ford has the most famous quote on this, which is that if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Obviously, he didn't found the Henry Ford Horse Breeding Company. He founded the Henry Ford Motor Company because he understood that what they were really trying to do was get from point A to point B as quickly, safely, and cost-effectively as possible. He understood that job to be done. Defining this is what matters more than anything else that we do in our businesses. Defining the value and finding a way to measure whether or not we're delivering it. Kodak is one of the classic American brands. It's such a sad story on this. The Kodak moment used to be like a thing, right? You would set up everybody, and there were spots around the country where you could have these Kodak moments. And now the Kodak moment itself has gone bankrupt. We don't set up individual Kodak moments. I've taken 40 pictures this morning. This is my wife taking a picture of some building, and I'm just in the car taking a picture of her taking pictures because I'm bored. This is not a Kodak moment world anymore. And this is what Kodak missed, is that the job to be done of capturing a moment was better served by the, at the time, relatively terrible phone that was sitting in our pocket, rather than the cameras and film that they had created. Then their failure to realize that is what led to the failure of their revolution. So startup 2, getting the math to work. I apologize, the last day here and I'm dropping math on you. But the most complicated thing we're going to do is multiplication, I promise. But so you've got your business model, right? You've got your, whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe it's donors, maybe it's selling tickets, whatever. And you're going to put $1 into acquiring a customer, right? And then that customer is going to spend a certain amount of lifetime value, money with you over their lifetime, right? Hopefully they come back more than once, and their lifetime value grows even further. Or you might say, okay, I'm going to spend $2 to acquire a $4 customer. That's actually the same business model as $1 in, $2 out. It's just faster growth. It means I can spend more than you can on driving traffic, on blogs, on social media, on visits, on graphic design, etc. Or you can say, listen, I want to put $2 into my model and get $12 out. It's a more profitable business model. Not necessarily better. I shouldn't say better. It's more profitable. Weirdest moment of my life, I was presenting to our board, and I said, wow, I got this ratio up to like 1 to 10. Every $10 you give me, I'll give you 10 back. And our executive said, why are you growing so slowly? So just goes to prove you can never please the boss, so don't try. But the COCA here is the cost of customer acquisition. It's the combined cost of sales and marketing to bring somebody into your organization. And the customer lifetime value is how much money they generate for your organization over time. We call this customer centricity. This word is abused a lot, right? Usually people think it means like the customer's always right, give them a hug. The customer's not always right, the customer's very often wrong. Or at least the customer is very often wrong for you. What customer centricity means to us as modern marketers and modern revolutionaries is that we acquire a specific type of customer, of a specific persona, from a specific source, and they spend a specific amount of money with me over their lifetime. It's not about being interesting to everybody. It's about creating those Larry-like experiences that are perfect for individual types of people. It's about growing that and putting money into that model. So, does anybody recognize this movie? Yeah? Glengarry Glen Ross, right? Okay. This movie has a classic quote which follows this, which goes, put that coffee down. Coffee is for closers. I sort of William Shatnered him there. It's a lot funnier if somebody's actually getting coffee when I do that, by the way. Because they like, if they're not listening closely, they'll freak out and be like, oh crap, is this like the special speaker coffee? There is no special speaker coffee. But this is the mentality, right, of always be closing, ABC. This is how we sort of approached our sales and marketing programs. We buy a list and we send an email 3 times a week with a coupon and we call it email marketing. Now, Amazon, I'm actually a big fan of Amazon, even though I'm critical of them. They are the worst offenders at this. This is a screenshot of my actual inbox where I average 3 to 5 emails a day from Amazon. And it's all talking about them, right? Like, buy, recommendations, your promotions and deals, buy it again, me. It's all talking about what I can buy from Amazon.com. I actually finally had to unsubscribe from this. So this is now a month-old screenshot, just because it got so extreme that even with how much I love you, I don't think you'll care that this is a month-old. Now, I want to introduce you to 2 people very important to me. These are my grandparents in India. Wonderful people. My grandfather's a teacher. My mother, or my grandmother, does lots and lots of work in the community. I try and talk with them as much as I can, keep in touch with them. They don't email me 3 times a day. If you're emailing me more than my grandparents, you'd better have something really interesting to say. Amazon is abusing that attention, which is part of what impacts that trust. Now, the irony is Jeff Bezos actually has one of my favorite quotes on this. He's the founder of Amazon. Here's this quote. When they originally decided to allow negative reviews on the website, he got a letter from his investors saying, listen, Jeff, we know you think this internet thing is going to be big and all, but you obviously don't know how to run a business. Amazon makes $258,000 a minute, every minute of every day. But we'll get back to that. They say, you don't know how to run a business. You make money when you sell things. Why would you do anything to discourage people from buying? To which Bezos replied, that's not true. We don't make money when we sell things. We make money when we help people make purchase decisions. And this is what they try to organize their strategy at Amazon around. But this is our core advantage. No one can help make a decision to everybody all the time, everywhere in the world, and be interesting to everyone. We have the ability that we really understand our communities. We understand the people who are in our businesses who are coming in and talking to us. And it's not that Amazon doesn't have this opportunity. So one of their emails is about a golf swing trainer. A round of applause. Is anybody good at golf? Okay. I like you people. So we could go play golf then. I'm not very good. My grandfather and grandmother actually do like to play golf. And so I was looking for swing trainers so I could find some way to spend more time with them. Amazon never asked me that, right? Like, why are you looking at swing trainers? I'm not going to be a PGA pro. I'm doing it because my job to be done is spending more time with my family, right? That's what I'm really trying to accomplish in this. And if they had understood that, first of all, they could help me make a better decision. Because it could be like, here's actually better ways to just get good enough to not make them mad. That was my only goal. I don't want to win. I just want to like not be so slow that I make everybody angry. They could have also sold me a bunch more stuff. Right? Like, here are other ways. The answer to this, by the way, is not Cards Against Humanity. If anybody's heard of that, that is not a game to play with your grandparents. Learned that the hard way. They did not help me make a decision. But this has come down to, can you out-help your competitors instead of can you out-interrupt them? So one story here, I had a friend who had a flower company in Tampa, and he had a competitor who was spending all this money on like billboard ads and all kinds of stuff, and we just assumed the competitor was stupid, which, by the way, is very common in advertising. It's usually that they don't understand their business model well, and that's what ruins it for everybody because it drives prices up. But this competitor didn't go out of business. And so I figured I'm going to go secret shop them and try and figure out what's this magical thing that's helping them do it. And so I go to the flower store, and I'm walking around, and the woman behind the counter, instead of just ignoring me, and she looked like she was maybe in high school, right? So she could have or college maybe, could have gotten away with ignoring me, right? But she asked, she's like, who are you buying flowers for? I said, well, I'm buying flowers for my girlfriend. It's her birthday tomorrow. And she says, okay, what kind of flowers does your girlfriend like? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. But she asks me some questions, and she helps me come to a conclusion. She asks me like what colors she likes and some other things. She comes to a bouquet that's actually pretty interesting. And she helps me make a decision that way. And that in and of itself was interesting. But then she did something that was even more interesting. She said, I noticed you said your girlfriend's birthday is tomorrow. Would you like me to remind you next year a little sooner so that you can maybe get her something more interesting than just what we have in stock here? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Please do that. I'm terrible with dates. Please help me do that. And she said, is there anybody else you buy flowers for? I'm like, well, I mean, my mother's birthday and everybody else, maybe I could buy some flowers for that. I like having flowers in my house on occasion. She's like, cool, like what are the dates? I'll remind you all the time to buy them. Now, flowers are a unique thing, right? Because you buy them, and then they die. And it makes you sad. And you have to buy more of them. We give so much, hassle to like the tobacco industry. They're worse. It's so addictive, right? Because it's so beautiful and joyful. And then the feeling of getting somebody something that makes them smile is so wonderful. And then it dies. And you have to buy more. But what they had done is get really good at keeping me as a customer, right? So then they could spend more to get me as a customer. Which brings us to our third point, getting the math to scale. So round of applause, any Pokemon Go players in here? All right, a few of you. All right. Any Team Mystic? All right, we're hanging out later. There's 3 teams, only one of them's good. My speaker ratings just dropped by like 6 points. All right, so Pokemon was this interesting thing, right? This very interesting phenomenon. Fastest thing in American history to reach 50 million users. Radio took 38 years, Facebook took 3.5 years, Angry Birds took 35 days. Pokemon Go took 19 days to reach 50 million users. It's also the fastest game in history to make $1 billion. Single-handedly reversed the train of losses that Nintendo had in their revenues leading up into 2016. So it's kind of hard to say that they weren't successful. But then you look at charts like this, which is the daily active user chart, and you can see it's going up and up and up, and then it goes down and down and down. A lot of us started playing the game, but they didn't do a very good job of keeping us around. And so this has really messed with their economics of how much money can we spend to bring people in to playing Pokemon Go. So when I say things like product market fit, the definition that we use for this, and I apologize for what I'm about to do to your ears, cohort retention is asymptotic to the x-axis. What that means is that product A and product B, or company A and company B here, both acquire the same number of users. But after a certain period of time, everybody who came to product B has left. They stopped being a customer. Not true for product A. Some have, right? Some people like die, or some people get sad with flowers and move to Alaska. Beautiful state. But like some people stick around forever. And this is the key to growth, is retention. Now you can see on the left I've got a bad retention chart and a good retention chart. These two companies are actually getting the same number of new customers per month. But at a certain point, the company on the left reaches this point where it plateaus and it can't grow anymore because it's losing customers as fast as it's getting them. If you guys want to launch a startup, I promise you I can just sell more of whatever the thing is than people can cancel for a while. But eventually, if we're not good at keeping customers around, we're not going to grow. And if we're not good at keeping customers around, we're not going to have the leverage we need in our model. So customer centricity is not just a feel-good buzzword. It creates real leverage. Round of applause, Starbucks fans. Okay. All right, Dunkin' fans. All right, I found the New Englanders. So I love Starbucks. It's such an interesting model because Starbucks has an average order value of about $5.80 with coffee and food and everything else that they've added to their menu. But when I was walking around Manhattan, I counted over 90 Starbucks. I don't know what the plural of Starbucks is, but whatever the plural is, I counted that many of them. And they have wonderful leather couches. In New England, they've got nice big roaring fires. They've got better Wi-Fi than I do at home. Like, it's a really nice place to hang out. The reason that they've done this is not because they're terrible at business, but it's because they're not trying to sell a $6 cup of coffee and sandwich. The average lifetime value of a Starbucks customer is over $14,000. They're trying to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 to acquire and retain that $14,000 customer. And when I talk about different types of customers, I reran this math for my colleagues. Our average customer lifetime value is over $30,000 because we like having meetings and stuff in Starbucks. It would be worth it for them to actually just park a barista in our front office and just serve us coffee. The irony being, if you remember our trust survey, if the barista was in our marketing team's office, they'd be more trusted than we are. So it creates this leverage that allows you to actually spend more money to grow, spend more money to bring people into your organization, bring people in. Most companies look like this yellow line. You got to make a little bit of profit on the first transaction. Your company won't support anything else. But if you're really good at keeping customers, you can actually spend more money to acquire a customer than that customer pays you. Now, the most dangerous thing about this is if you spend more money and you're not good at keeping them around. That's what we were doing at the cell phone company. 50% of our activations canceled, probably because I was saying the wrong thing in Spanish. That meant that we were losing money to acquire a customer, and then they weren't sticking around. But if you're good at keeping those customers around, you can spend more to get those customers. That is the core lesson here, core lesson number 2. Core lesson number 1 is help people make decisions. Core lesson number 2 is spend more to get customers. So you want to do more than survive disruption. You want to create it. Pokemon, Lego have all done this well. IBM is my favorite story for this. IBM may sound like a boring company, and in 1980 they did a study that said it would take 9 months to ship an empty box with the processes that they had. And yet in 1 year, IBM created the IBM PC because they created a whole separate unit whose job was to just focus on creating value for that customer. Not the vertical integration of IBM, not all these other things that matter to us, just create value for the PC customer. We talk about dinosaurs. Somehow, the dinosaurs managed to strap rocket skates onto its feet and join us in the modern era. By the way, if you want to think about the power of the internet, I Googled dinosaur wearing rocket skates, and this picture came up. So there's anything you want is on the internet. My one word of caution, common phrase attributed to Confucius or Hebrew phrase, depending on who you ask. He who chases 2 rabbits catches neither. You may feel a lot of pressure to do everything at once, especially on the marketing organization. You feel like you got to be doing social media, you got to be doing blogging, you got to be doing this, you got to be doing that. The most dangerous thing that you can do is to try and do all of it. The hardest thing to resist in entrepreneurship as a startup entrepreneur is if you've got $2 billion opportunities, don't go after each opportunity at 80%. Because somebody will just go after each of them at 100% and they'll beat you in that customer value, helping people make decisions, keeping those customers around. Focus on $1 billion opportunity and ignore the other one entirely. So my second point, of course, is help people make decisions. I decided a while ago that I wanted to propose to said girlfriend. I know as little about jewelry as I do about flowers. But there was somebody out there who had the Guy's Guide to Buying Jewelry. And it was great. I read it, and it gave me all this advice, wonderful tidbits, like ask her friend like what kind of jewelry she likes. That was news to me. Like I hadn't considered that. But it helped me make this really good decision. And they nurtured me, and I bought from them. In case you were wondering, yes, she said yes. Okay. I make you applaud for Pokemon Go, but I don't make you applaud for my own happiness and joy, so I need to work on my priorities. I want to leave you on a note, because I've talked a lot about math, and there is a lot of power and leverage in the economics of running a business like this, helping people make decisions, and then focusing on that retention piece. But there's more to it than that, right? We want to feel good about the work that we do. This is a person who has the HubSpot logo tattooed on their knee. We are a software company. That is weird. Okay, that is weird. We can all admit that's weird. We can all agree that that is weird. He was not actually a customer at the time. But he'd read the blog, he'd read the academy certifications and everything else, and we'd helped him get his first job in marketing, we'd helped him grow his career in marketing, and he was just very, very grateful to our company for focusing on education, focusing on helping him make decisions, and creating that experience that brought him to us. Now, he can't buy HubSpot right now, but do you think that when he does have the authority to buy HubSpot, we're going to have to haggle over price? No. I also don't think brand retention is going to be an issue. I'll just be like, lift up your knee, right? You can remember us. It's an awesome feeling. It really is. To go from, Senor, verga, un minuto, ¿con quién es su teléfono celular? To having people feel like this about the companies that we work for. It's an amazing transformation that we're going through. And it's not just technological. We love to talk about the tech, we love to talk about the business models, we love to talk about the economics, but a lot of this is just the social bits that have changed. So this is a picture, this beautiful picture I love. This is the connections between people on Facebook. Now, round of applause if you've ever played the game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah? Okay. I delivered this slide in Pakistan. It didn't go over quite as well, mostly because I got the movie he was in wrong. But you were all 1 degree, at least if you weren't 6 degrees before, you are now, right? Because you were here with me. I went to school with Matt, who was in Rosewood with Ving Rhames, who was in Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, who was in A Few Good Men with Kevin Bacon. Normally, I would say, cool, should be impressive, this should be awesome. I'm so close to the pinnacle of acting in history, which is Kevin Bacon. It's not actually that impressive. Facebook does a study every year that says how far apart are people? And you're actually only 3.57 degrees apart. Any 2 given people on the planet are less than 4 degrees separated from each other. When you're thinking about the revolutions that you want to build, the movements that you want to build, political, religious, economic, arts, heritage, whatever is important to you, the people that can help you grow that movement are within your reach. The song we sung earlier today, that was done by some woman that I hired off Fiverr.com because I couldn't find a royalty-free version of that song, right? It's amazing the resources that we have that can bring people together and help them build these revolutions. In 2006, Time magazine named the person of the year you. I think they jumped the gun a little bit because back then we were still sort of building the technology. We hadn't really built the social technology. We hadn't built all of this. But you right now have more power to influence and create whatever movements that you want than at any previous point in history. And I know it seems overwhelming because everybody else also has that power. But it's not because you don't have the opportunity. It's not because you don't have the technology. It's not because you don't have the network. You have the access to make a difference in whatever it is that you care about. All the stuff that you've learned about this weekend, the tactics and the strategies to help you be better at your jobs, all of that can feed the life of passion that you want to live and help you win and create that revolution that you cared about. Thank you.
All right, friends. Wasn't that fantastic? Thank you. Can we do one more round of applause for Sam? So we had initially scheduled a book signing for right after this, and unfortunately, because of a publisher glitch, there are no books to sign. However, Sam is going to sit right here at this table, and you are welcome to chat with him for at least a little bit after. Thank you so much, Sam. I just wanted to very quickly thank everyone for the last few days. Here in Memphis, we have explored some of the big marketing questions that need to be addressed in the arts today about how we communicate our value, about our lenses on equity, how we become more relevant and impactful in communities, and we got to experience some amazing, really important points in our shared civil rights history, see some great research, experimentation. All sorts of amazing things happened here, and they happened because of you and because you came together. So on behalf of Americans for the Arts, I just want to quickly extend one more heartfelt thank you to all of you. Ask you to give yourselves a great round of applause. And good luck, safe travels, and see you in Seattle in 2018. Thank you, everyone.